Hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about how we're going to be able to use literal equations in our everyday life. Um, the majority of the time what you see with literal equations is actual formulas that we use in everyday life. And so what we take is we take that knowledge of literal equations and transform them into solving specific formulas. So the first part on your note sheet is the TLW. So the learner will today, by the end of today, the learner will solve literal equations involving certain formulas. What you're going to see is lots and lots of different types of formulas. If you read this first section, I'll read it out loud. If you study geometry, physics, economics, or many other fields, you will most likely encounter formulas relating to or more quantities. Some of these examples you're going to see quite often in mathematics. The first one here for geometry is P equals 2L plus 2W. This is the formula for a perimeter of a triangle. The perimeter is just 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. That's why you get the 2L plus 2W. This next one is area equals S squared. That's the area of a square. The sides, if you square the sides of any square, you get the area. And the next one is the circumference of a circle, which is circumference equals 2 pi r. R represents the radius, and pi is that crazy irrational number there. But formulas like this can be considered literal equations. As with literal equations, if you solve a formula for an unknown quantity in terms of a known quantity, you can substitute the known quantities into the rewritten formula to find the unknown quantity directly. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be solving our literal literal equations with these specific formulas. So in each example, we're going to solve the formula for the given variable, and then we're going to justify our step for a solution. So if I scroll down here, let me scroll down. Oops, scroll down here. My first example is a formula for the rectangular prism, and the formula is V equals LWH, where L is the length, the width is W, and the height is H. We're going to have to solve the formula for H to find the height of a rectangular prism if we were to be given the volume, length, and width. So we have volume equals length, width, height. We need to solve for H. That means we need to isolate H by itself. Well, if you look here, volume equals length times width times height. We're solving for height. Well, if we want to get height by itself, we have to do an inverse operation to get H by itself. So if I look here, I notice we have a W being multiplied into H. So the inverse to multiplication would be to divide both sides by W. But you'll also notice if I just divide both sides by W, that's only going to take away the W. I still have this L. This L is being multiplied as well into the H, so maybe I should probably divide both sides by LW. The justification is the division property of equality. So when I do that, I actually end up canceling out the LW's, and I'm left with H by itself is equal to the volume divided by the length times the width. And that's how you figure out the height of this rectangular prism. So it's very similar to solving literal equations, except now they're giving us the exact variable that we have to solve for. Alright, let me flip over to the next page. And the next one is the formula E equals 1/2 kx squared gives us the potential energy E of a spring with a constant k that is being stretched by a length x. Solve the formula for k to find the constant of the spring with a given potential energy and stretch. So this is the formula. They want us to solve for k. There's k. Well, how do we get k by itself? Well, there's a couple things we can do, but the first thing I notice is I got this 1/2 here. So, in order to get rid of this 1/2, I need to multiply it by its reciprocal. And the reciprocal to 1/2 is 2. Well, if I do that, then the 2 and the 1/2 cancel because 1/2 times 2 is 1. 2 times e is just 2e, and that equals kx squared. Almost done solving this equation. All I need to do now is get k by itself. The only way to get k by itself is to divide both sides by x squared. Once I do that, the x squares cancel, and I'm left with k equals 2e over x squared. There is how you solve for k. The justification here, the first one was the multiplication property of equality. I'm going to shorten that up. In the second step, we use the division property of equality. And there you go. Next one, let me scroll down again. Oops. There we go. The formula T equals P plus SP gives the total cost of an item with a price of P and a sales tax of S, expressed as a decimal. The S is a decimal because, of course, any type of sales tax is a percent. Like in Michigan, it's 6%. Solve the formula for S. So we're going to have to solve this formula for S. I'm going to rewrite the formula. Hopefully you do the same. T equals P plus SP. Alright, so the first step, of course, is to try to get S by itself. In order to get S by itself, we would need to subtract P from both sides. Those two can't be combined yet. So we're left with, I'm going to have to write this over here, sorry. To write this over here, T minus P is equal to, those two cancel, SP. We're almost finished. Try to get S by itself. We would divide both sides by P. So what we're left with is the sales tax is equal to total cost minus the price divided by the price. You can leave it in this form, that's okay. For myself, I notice here that I got a couple P's right here that could eventually be canceled. So I'm going to use that formula that I taught you earlier this year, which was separate those two into two separate fractions. When I do that, I'm left with T over P minus P over P. P divided by P is just 1. So I'm left with T over P minus 1. And that's how you figure out your sales tax. Then describe a situation in which you would want to solve for the formula for S. So why would we want to solve for S? Maybe you want to figure out what the sales tax would be. maybe you're given the total cost, you're given the price of your shirt. Let's say it's a shirt. You got the total cost, you got the price. How do you figure out your sales tax? Well, you can figure out your sales tax by taking the total cost, divide it by the price, and subtract 1. And there you go. I would like you to stop the video here. I want you to try to solve these next 2 problems as a class. Solve these next 2 problems, and then we'll come back and we'll see if you're correct. Okay, so for this next one, the formula for the volume of a cube is known for V equals B times H, where B is the base and H is the height. We need to solve for H, the height. Well, here's the H. We need to isolate the H. So the H is being multiplied by B, the base. How do we get rid of the base? We divide by B. The final answer here then is H equals V divided by B. And that's the answer to the first one. The second one, the volume of a cylinder is found by the formula V equals pi radius squared H, where A is the radius and H is the height. Solve the formula for H. So we need to get H. Well, in order to get H by itself, there's my pi r squared H. In order to get H by itself, we have a couple things being multiplied to it. How do we undo multiplication? By division. We have pi r squared, and so we're left with H is equal to V over pi r squared. Alright, I want again to stop the video here, and I want you to solve this next problem, this extension problem, and then we will talk about how we can come across solving this type of problem. Alright, so for this problem, if I give you the formula for finding a triangle, it's area equals 1/2 base times height, where B is the base and H is the height. Mr. Cessna gives you the area of a triangle and its base. We need to find its height. The hint was to solve for H first, then substitute in the given numbers. Well, in this case, we're just going to have to solve for H because we don't know what the given numbers are. So, if we have A equals 1/2 base times height, we need to solve for the height. Well, I notice I have a 1/2. I got to get rid of this 1/2 first. 1/2 is being multiplied into H, so to get rid of it, multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. So 2 times A becomes 2A is equal to, those two cancel, and I'm left with base height. Well, get rid of that by dividing by base. And what I'm left with is the height equals 2A over B. What we can do now is whatever Mr. Cessna gives you as the area of that triangle, you would just substitute it in right there. And then if I gave you the base, you could substitute that number in right there. You could solve that, and you get the height. So that's why we're taking these literal equations and now transforming them into formulas. So your homework assignment for today, you're going to work on for the remainder of the hour, is basically the same type of formulas. We will talk about these on Thursday. So good luck, and we will talk to you guys soon.